In this crazy world, it's so hard to unwind. So I'm taking time just for me. Gonna find my peace, let my soul be free. In the quiet moments, that's where I'll find a little room to breathe and leave it all behind. Give me room to breathe, I need some time to heal my heart, to clear my mind. Gonna love myself, yeah, I believe in the power of me. Just give me room to breathe.
Great new day to all my self-care friends and family. Welcome back to another Room to Breathe podcast. I am your host, Life Coach 614, and I am so thankful and grateful that you are here with us today. Now, before we jump into today's episode, I need to ask everyone to do me a quick favor. If you're feeling our vibes, go ahead and show us some love. Tap that screen, like, comment, but most importantly, I need for everyone to share this out with someone who could use a little healing energy today. And if this is your first time here or you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that follow button. Subscribe to our channel so that way you are always tapped in when a new episode drops. I also want to personally invite you to visit our digital home at theselfcareclub.org. There you will find everything you need, from affirmative apparel to motivational merch, as well as a ton of free resources to help nourish your growth and remind you that you are supported every step of the way. Just know that you don't have to do this alone. We are healing in community, growing one breath, one moment, one day at a time. So today, I encourage you to make space for peace, for growth, but most importantly, room for you. And remember, if anything in today's episode hits home, be sure to drop those green hearts in the chat. That is our community's way of saying I am healing, I am growing, and I am showing up for me. Now, let's get ready to breathe, reflect, and grow together. Now, before we get into this, I want to just set the tone, gently but honestly. Okay? Today's episode might bring some things up to the surface. Maybe some memories, some feelings, or some realizations that you might not have been ready to name yet. So if at any point during this conversation you feel overwhelmed, just pause, take a breath, and come back when you're ready. You know, we're doing this live daily, but the best part about this podcast is that the replay is always available. So again, if you need to press pause, then I encourage you to do that. Now, I want you to hear me when I say this. We can't heal what we keep pretending that we don't feel. Okay? We can function. We can distract. We can stay busy. We can even convince ourselves that we're okay. But unacknowledged pain doesn't disappear. We can convince ourselves that we're okay, but it just chooses to show up in other ways, right? In our reactions, in our relationships, in our energy, in the way that we love, and the way that we protect ourselves. So today's conversation isn't about forcing anything. It's just about allowing, right? Allowing yourself to feel what's already there without judgment, without rushing, without minimizing. Welcome in, Mr. T. Because family, this conversation right here, this is one of those, I didn't really realize how much I was carrying kind of talks, right? And I'm not coming to y'all from a place of I've got it all figured out, because I'm in this too. You know, I've had moments where I called it stress, called it burnout, called it I'm just tired, when really I was grieving, right? Grieving things that I never named, grieving things that I tried to push past, grieving things that I didn't think counted enough to slow down for. And I didn't even give myself permission to say it out loud. You know, it's like I don't know. I just thought if I held it all in that it would get better. What did they tell you? Joy comes tomorrow. And here I am, 8 years later, still waiting for tomorrow to happen. So today we're not pointing fingers, right? Today, we're just going to sit through the truth together, right? We're going to walk through this together. And so if you haven't figured it out already, today we are talking about grief, what it looks like, what we don't always name, and how we start talking doing more than talking, and we start taking that next step towards our healing together. So we're going to go into this taking a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. That one felt really good. Let's do it again. Breathe in and out. All right. So let's just go ahead and get into this, right? Let's completely be honest. Some of us are grieving right now. Some of us are grieving right now and still showing up like everything is normal. Still getting up, still handling responsibilities, still being who everybody needs us to be. And if we're being real, half the time we haven't even slowed down long enough to realize it about ourselves. We just know that something feels different, right? That the energy ain't the same. The motivation hits different. Certain moments feel heavier than they should. And instead of asking, what am I feeling? We go straight to, what's wrong with me? Right? What's wrong with me? I know I've done that. And, recently I've had to sit with myself and be honest in a way that didn't feel comfortable at first. I realized that I've been grieving a version of me, right? Not because something tragic happened, but because something changed. So here recently for me, my son turned 18, right? Yay me, go mom. And listen, that sounds like something to celebrate. And it is. I am proud. I am grateful, right? I am watching him step into his own life, trying to figure out adulthood, making his own decisions. But if I'm being honest, there's a part of me that had to pause and say, wait, what just happened? Because for so long, my role was clear, right? I was needed in a certain way. I was hands-on. I was in all the details, right? I was guiding and protecting and making sure that everything was okay. And now he out here actively trying to find his way without me holding his hand. And don't get it twisted. I raised him for that, right? That was the goal. That's always been the goal. But nobody talks about what it feels like on this side of it, right? The quiet shift, the space, the moments when you realize I don't have that same role anymore. And y'all, I had to check myself, right? Like, I caught myself feeling a little off, a little emotional in moments that didn't seem deep on the surface. But instead of brushing past it, I finally said, I think I'm grieving. Not him, not the relationship, but the version of me that existed in that season. And y'all, that hit me because grief doesn't always come from losing someone. Sometimes it comes from evolving, from transitioning, from outgrowing a version of your life that once defined you. And if you don't slow down long enough to acknowledge that, then you'll carry it and not even realize what it is. So when I say that some of us are grieving right now, I'm not speaking at you. I'm sitting right here with you, right? I'm in this with you, trying to understand it right beside you, trying to honor it, trying to not rush myself past it. Because just like I had to learn you know, that I had to learn that nothing is wrong with us, right? We might just be in a moment where something meaningful is shifting and we're feeling the weight of the change in real time, right? Just like we're healing in real time, right? But I wanted to, come in here today and kind of, I don't know, make how do I want to say this? Like, I wanted to expand our thought process when it comes to grief, right? I want to talk about the kind of grief that we don't usually talk about. And before we do that, like, I want to check in with you guys, right? Like, if you're listening to this live or if you're catching the replay, I just want you to drop in the chat, the answer to this question. And I'm going to do several check-ins as we go through because I think it's necessary. And, if you're not comfortable dropping it in the chat or the comments, I hope that you just sit with it quietly if that, feels better to you. But the question that I have is, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word grief? What is the first word that comes to your mind when you hear the word grief? Or the first thing. It doesn't have to be a word. Don't overthink it. Just the first thing that rises up when you hear the word grief. Dawn says my life. Brooke says dad. Obedient Heart says pain. Mars says mom. Sorrow. All heavy things, right? Mr. T says mom. For me, it's dad. Melody says so much, right? And so, if we're being honest, for a lot of us, it's death, right? The loss of a loved one. We hear grief, we think funerals, tears, that deep, undeniable heartbreak, right? And that's real. That is valid and that is heavy. But if that's the only way that we define grief, we miss so much of what we're actually carrying. Because grief isn't just about losing a person. Grief is about losing anything that mattered to you. Right? There's a lot of us that have been silently struggling. Right? Many of us are walking around grieving people who are still alive. We grieve relationships that didn't turn into what we thought they would be. We grieve versions of ourselves that existed before certain experiences changed us. Coach Brown, welcome back. And I've had to sit with this myself, grieving time that I can't get back. Yes. Grieving, innocence being taken too soon. Grieving moments where we've overextended, where we overgave, where we gave more than what we had, where we stayed longer than we should have, hoping that things would shift. Twista, welcome in. We grieve our childhood, right? Not just what happened, but also what didn't happen, right? Because sometimes it's not about what happened to us, it's what didn't happen for us. Right? The safety that we didn't feel, the support that we didn't receive, the moments where we needed somebody and we were stuck alone, had to figure it out on our own. We grieve who we thought we'd be by now. That timeline in our head, right? Where life was supposed to look a certain way by a certain age, and when it doesn't, that disappointment, that quiet frustration, that's grief too. We grieve the closure that we never got, the conversations that never happened, the apologies that were never given, the questions that we'll probably never know the answers to. And one that hits different is we grieve the version of people that we loved before they changed. Right? Before the distance, before the hurt, before the abuse, before the abandonment, before the neglect. before the shift that made us look at them differently. Right? And if I'm being real, that one can be confusing, right? Because that one starts to pair a little bit with that Stockholm syndrome where, you can love or miss somebody who caused you harm. Because at some point there was a version of them that was lovable until they hurt you. So that one can be a bit confusing. Especially when they're still here, they're still present in the world, they're still walking in the land of the living. And so you're like, well, how do I grieve someone who is still here? Or how do I grieve someone who hurt me, who abandoned me, who abused me, who neglected me? How do you process losing a version of a relationship while the person still exists? And that kind of grief doesn't usually get acknowledged out loud, but it sits with you, right? It shows up in your thoughts, in your boundaries, and how you love going forward. But just because nobody else recognizes your grief doesn't mean that it's not real. Just because it didn't come with a funeral doesn't mean that you didn't lose something. Some of the deepest grief that we carry is tied to things that never fully got to exist the way that we needed them to. And if we've never named that, we end up trying to move on from something that we never actually allowed ourselves time to process. So as you're sitting with that question, what comes to mind when I hear grief? I want you to gently expand that. So for those of you who put your answers in the chat, I want you to just gently expand that, because your grief might not look like what you were taught grief should look like, but that doesn't make it less valid, right? And it doesn't make it any less deserving of your attention and your healing. So I want to talk about the stuff that we downplay, but it still hurts, right? Because if we're being real with ourselves, a lot of us didn't just experience grief, we minimized it. And again, I'm not speaking at you. I'm right here too. I can remember many seasons where I've told myself it's not that bad, that I've been through worse, that I don't have time to sit with this, that I should be over this by now. And so on the outside, y'all, I kept moving. But internally, it was showing up anyway. Many of you are aware that this whole Room to Breathe project and the self-care club is something that was born from my depression. It was something that in late 2019, I could no longer deny the fact that I was grieving. And yeah, I had lost people, and so I was grieving people. I was grieving my dad, still carrying grief from my grandma, from my miscarriage. I mean, there were people that I was grieving, but more importantly, I was grieving versions of myself. And so when things got dark for me in late 2019, I couldn't deny the grief, because it was like all the skeletons in the closet just, got up and was like, yo, remember me? Like, we're going to deal with this today. And so as I started going to therapy early 2020, and I had to start sitting with it, because at this point, like I said, in 2019, I realized I was changing. Something in me was shifting, and I couldn't deny it anymore, because it started showing up in my patience, in my energy, and how I responded to people. And, in those moments that I just felt off. And I think God really just got tired of me playing around and was like, listen, I need you to feel what you need to feel. And who knew that it would turn into my purpose or my calling to help other people feel what they need to feel, right? But in order for me to walk into that next step, in order for me to walk into my purpose, God had to really sit me down and show me all that I've been feeling, all that I've been carrying, so I could let that weight off of me, right? And so I had to pause and I had to ask myself, Why am I trying to convince myself that something didn't hurt me when it clearly did? Who said I had to be the strong one? Who said that I had to carry this on my own? Because that's what we do, right? We downplay it so we don't have to feel it. We shrink it so we can keep functioning and moving on. We compare it to what we see other people going through so we can justify ignoring it. But here's the truth. Your healing doesn't respond to comparison. It don't give a damn, y'all. Your healing responds to honesty. If it hurt you, it hurt you. If it changed you, it changed you. If it stayed with you, it mattered. Period. And I think that a lot of us were taught that without it being directly said, right? We were taught to keep going, to be strong. Welcome in, Lisa. Elevated awakenings to everyone joining us today. So we were taught to keep going, to be strong, to not sit too long in our feelings, to get over it, right? So over the years, we've learned how to survive, but not always were we taught or encouraged to process it. And see, there's a difference, because unprocessed pain doesn't disappear. It doesn't hurt any less. It just finds another way to speak. I want to ask you, you can drop it in the chat or sit with your answers privately. But I want to ask you, what is something that you told yourself wasn't that serious, but if you're being honest, it actually hurt you? What's something you told yourself it wasn't that serious, but if you're being honest, it actually hurt you? And listen, no judgment, no over explaining. This is just us speaking our truth, right? Because sometimes the breakthrough isn't in doing more. It's in finally admitting that, yeah, that affected me, right? Twista said speaking. Melody, letting go of the past me fully. Yeah. Fully being that key word, right? No fear, no doubt. Welcome in, bro. And listen, you guys, these answers, this feeling too much, Don, that's not a sign of weakness. All right. I just want you guys to know that it's not a sign of weakness. It is not speaking. I got you, Twista. It's awareness, right? That is what we're doing today. We're bringing awareness. Papa Smurf, welcome in. Again, for those of you who are just joining, I did give a disclaimer in the beginning, but today we are talking about grief and our unprocessed grief and, the grief that we don't talk about. So I want to give everybody the opportunity and the understanding of what today's conversation is. I will try to keep sharing that periodically in the chat, just so no one is, ambushed when they walk in on our title today. And so, yeah, the question that I asked is, what is something that you told yourself wasn't that serious, but if you're honest, it actually hurt you? So I'll give you guys an example of something for me. Growing up, I was a talker, y'all. I'm the youngest. Okay, I'm the youngest kid in my family, out of my siblings on both sides. And so I used to talk my sisters to death. And I was the question child. You know how everybody got a kid that asks you all the questions. But why? But why? But why? Right? So I've always been that curious person. And it's funny that I think about it now, how I was such a talker. And here I am with my own podcast, right? Go figure. Who said my talking wouldn't pay off? Haha. No, but seriously, I convinced myself that, people telling me that I talk too much or that I ask too many questions or, kind of pushing me to go to my room and mind my mental, I guess, right? Because they didn't want to put up with me. They didn't want to bother me or me to bother them. And so I think about, all the times where as a kid, I was told that I talked too much or that I was doing too much. And so I would pretend like it didn't bother me. Welcome in, Monique. But if I'm being honest right now, looking back, that hurt me because I felt like someone was putting tape over my mouth. I was a rah. Yes, that's why I love her so much. But seriously, you guys, it just made me feel like I was like somebody had put tape over my mouth. And so then as I grew up, I learned how to make myself smaller. Until there got to be a point where I just didn't want to talk anymore. And then I got in trouble for not speaking up, which was crazy. Because for years, y'all told me to shut up. But that's something that I would minimize. I would tell myself it wasn't that bad. And honestly, I knew it was coming from a place of love. I mean, I was a lot. Now being an adult, having a child that, asked me 11 questions, like to this day, he 18 and still need to know why. Why? And I'd be like, all right, God, I see what you're doing right there. you gave me a me. But, if I'm being honest, that repetitive telling me to be quiet, to stop talking, that I'm doing too much, kind of shaped how I am today. And so again, when faced with the question, what's something that you told yourself wasn't that serious, but if you're honest, it actually hurt you, that would be something that actually hurt me, and over the years, I've had to unlearn that, right? I had, that's something that I had to unlearn. And so again, when you're thinking about this, and these are not questions that I'm giving you guys that you have to answer immediately, right? Some of you, when I ask the question, you immediately have an answer. Cool, because that thing been trying to get out for a minute. But for some of us, we're going to have to sit with these questions today. And so this is going to be one of those episodes where you need maybe a pen and a paper. You need to write these questions down, or you need to be prepared to come back to this later today, because it's a lot to unpack. And grief is a very heavy thing, right? But again, this conversation is all about awareness. And I think that awareness is how your healing actually begins. So instead of us brushing past it, we are going to sit with it today. Not for us to stay stuck, but for us to finally give grief the space that it deserves. There are actually stages of grief, right? How many stages of grief do you think that there are? Mr. Jackson, welcome in. Welcome in, everyone. Lady Blue, I see you, girl. How many stages of grief do you guys think that there are? Brooke says 6. Hey, bro. Anybody else? Twister says minimum of 3. Lisa says 7. How many stages of grief do you think that there are? And don't y'all be over there Googling it or overthinking. There's no right or wrong. I'm just curious. Melody says as many as it takes to process it. Papa Smurf says 4 or 5. Lisa says infinity and beyond, right, sis? So again, some of us might say 3. Some might say 5. Lady Blue says 365. Girl, because listen, I need one every day. 366 on leap year, right? Some of us might be like, I know there are stages, but I couldn't tell you what they are, right? And that's real. Y'all all right. Nobody's wrong. Because, even if we've heard about the stages of grief, a lot of us don't actually recognize them when we're in them, right? And, here's the part that doesn't get talked about enough. These stages of grief don't happen in order. They don't show up one time and then disappear, right? And they don't look the same for everybody. So even if there were 5 stages of grief, for some people that 5 is multiplied by 3. So they got 15 stages. I think for some people it's multiplied by 20. So they battle in 60 stages, right? Because it doesn't look the same for everybody. So if you've ever felt like, why am I still dealing with this? Or I thought I already processed this. I just want you to know you're not doing it wrong, right? You're just doing it human. Now, we're going to walk through them in real life, not the textbook, but I'm going to give you guys what the defined stages of grief are. The first one is denial. Can you guys put denial in the chat? Denial. And this is where we avoid it, right? We stay busy. We distract ourselves. We laugh it off. We keep saying, I'm good, I'm okay, I'm all right, even if we know we're not. I've been there, right? Where slowing down felt more uncomfortable than just pushing through. Because if I stopped, I would actually have to feel it. So many of us choose to live in denial. Didn't happen, didn't feel it. I don't know what you're talking about, right? The next stage is anger. Put anger in the chat. In fact, find me the angry emoji and put that in the chat. Amanda Phillips, welcome in. Right? Because anger, I think that this one doesn't always come out loud. Right? This one is sometimes it's just irritation. Sometimes it's short patience. Sometimes it's feeling on edge with no clear reason. Like nothing happened. I just feel on edge, right? And if we're being honest, sometimes the anger isn't even about the situation that's in front of us. Avita, welcome back. Sometimes it's not about what's like directly in front of us, right? It's everything that we've never processed that's been sitting under the surface. Like it's just laying there waiting. And so now we mad for no damn reason. When really there is a reason, right? The next one is bargaining. Put bargaining in the chat. This is like the replay stage, right? Bargaining is when you start to say things like, oh, if I would have just done this, if I would have said that, maybe if I would have just, right? Like trying to go back and fix something that has already happened. That is bargaining. Trying to make sense of it in a way that gives us the control, that gives us the power, right? And listen, I've caught myself here too. Replaying conversations and situations, knowing that I can't change it, but still wishing that I could. That's bargaining. A common stage of grief that we all know is depression, right? Put depression in the chat. Which, fun fact, if you rearrange the letters of depression, you could actually spell I pressed on. Just fun fact. We got a song about it too, y'all. On an earlier album that I did, there's a song called Depression, I Pressed On. And it is about, I mean, you guessed it, depression, right? But more importantly, about pressing on through it, about healing in spite of it. But the depression, you know, this is the heaviness that we feel when we're grieving. Not just the sadness, but like that deep, quiet weight that hangs on you, where your energy drops, where you feel slower, where you don't have the same capacity that you used to. And let's be clear, this is not laziness. This is not a lack of discipline. Sometimes this is the part where grief is asking you to just sit down and feel what you need to feel without avoiding it. Next is acceptance, right? Depression, deep rest. Yes. Acceptance is our next stage. And I think that this is the one that gets misunderstood the most. Acceptance is not, I'm over it or I'm okay with what happened. No, that's not what acceptance means. Make sure y'all put that in the chat. Acceptance. Acceptance is, this happened to me and I can't change it, but I'm learning how to carry it without letting it carry me. I want to say that again, because I think that many of us are fighting to get to this stage, but we don't even know what that looks like because we have it confused. We think that acceptance means I'm happy or that I'm glad that this happened. But again, acceptance just simply means that this happened and I can't change it. But every day I'm learning how to carry it without letting it carry me. So, prime example, I'll use myself as an example. For those of you who are familiar, you know that years ago I miscarried my twins. And when I share the story about this, I tell you guys I'm absolutely okay. That when it comes to the loss of my twins, I definitely am at the stage of acceptance because I understand that this happened to me, right? It mattered to me. It was important to me. And I can't change it. I can't undo it. I can't go back and, change anything about the situation. But what I've decided to do over the years is learn how to carry that, learn how to honor it without letting the heaviness weigh on me and carry me. Does that make sense? Acceptance is like making space for the truth without letting it control your entire life. Because sometimes we could just acknowledge this happened. I can't do anything about it. The relationship ended. We broke up. It happened. Right? They offended me. It happened. I am hurt. What they did to me was not right. I did not deserve that. I deserved more. But I can't change it. I can't undo it. They can't take their words back. That I can't say sorry, and it happened. But I am choosing to learn how to carry it and not let it carry me. I don't want it to consume me. So again, acceptance is about making space for the truth without letting it control your entire life. And so you might not move through these in order, right? You might feel acceptance one day and then you might wake up in anger the next day. You might think that you're past something and then a memory, a moment, a movie, right? A shift hits you out of nowhere. That doesn't mean that you're moving backwards. It just means that you're processing in layers. And every time that it comes back around, you're being given another opportunity to meet yourself with more awareness, more compassion, and more truth. So instead of asking yourself, why am I still here? Why am I still stuck on this stage? Maybe the better question is, what is this moment trying to show me that I'm finally ready to feel? And see, that right there, I think, is where the real healing starts. Going back to the conversation of my miscarriage, I was in denial for a while. I sat in anger for even longer. Right? Right. A song in the middle of Walmart melody. But so I sat in the anger stage for quite a while. And then when I finally reached a period of acceptance, it was just the understanding that had that pregnancy come to term, had I delivered my twins, I would have been trapped. First of all, I would have brought them into this world. I would have brought them into a relationship that was abusive, mentally, physically, emotionally, right? And so then I would have been trapped. I would have been tied to someone. for the rest of my life. It wouldn't have just been 18 years. So I had to understand the acceptance of it all. Like, hey, this happened for a reason. And the reason wasn't to hurt me. Yeah, I'm hurt. But God didn't do this to hurt me. He didn't do this to punish me. He honestly answered my prayer, because at the time I was thinking that I was less than a woman because I couldn't conceive. And so it was an answered prayer. The results weren't as I thought they would be. But once I got to that acceptance phase, I was able to understand why this needed to happen, right? Why it needed to be His will and not mine. So again, sometimes when you're stuck in that, why do I feel this way? Or why does this hurt so bad? We have to ask ourselves, what is this moment trying to finally show me? Or trying to show me that I'm finally ready to feel? And the thing about grief, family, is it's not linear, right? Let's just go ahead and clear this up, because I think this is where a lot of us get frustrated with ourselves. We think that healing is supposed to look like progress in a straight line. Like it's supposed to look like I felt it, I processed it, I'm done. Right? Because that's what society tries to teach us. It tries to tell us, you feel it, you process it, it's over. But grief doesn't move like that. It doesn't follow a schedule. Grief don't give a damn about your timeline. And it definitely doesn't check in like, hey, you good today if I come back up? Like if I bring something up, you okay? No, grief don't care. It don't give a damn. It just shows up. In the chat, I want you guys to drop a 1 for yes and a 2 for no. 1, yes, 2, no. Have you ever thought that you were over something and then out of nowhere it hit you all over again? Type a 1 for yes and a 2 for no. Have you ever thought that you were over something and then out of nowhere it hit you all over again? I'm seeing a lot of 1s. Welcome in, River. Have you ever thought that you were over something and then out of nowhere it hit you all over again? Mars said immediately yes. Right? And for many of you, maybe it's a memory. Maybe it's a song. Maybe it's a smell, right? A random moment that caught you off guard. And suddenly you're like, wait, I thought I was past this. I thought we were over this, right? I've been there too. Where I felt like I had already done the work and there was something small that triggered something deep. And in those moments, it's easy to feel like you're moving backwards. You're like, why am I still here? I thought that I healed this already, right? But let me reframe that for you. You're not going backwards. You're going deeper. Because grief is layered, right? Grief is layered. You don't just process something one time and it's done forever. You process it at different levels, in different seasons, and with different awareness. So the version of you today can handle things differently than the version of you back then. So when it comes back up, it's not here to break you. It's here to be processed from a new place. And y'all, let's normalize something else that, while we're sitting here in this, you can be healing and still feel it. You can be growing and still have moments. You can be doing better and still have days where it's heavy. That does not cancel your progress. That simply confirms your humanity. Because real healing isn't about never feeling it again. It's about not being controlled by it the same way. It's about having the awareness to say, okay, this is happening again. This is coming up again. I'm feeling this again. Let me sit with it differently this time. Instead of ignoring it, instead of numbing it, instead of pretending that it's not there. So the next time you experience something that comes back up, instead of judging yourself try asking, what layer of this am I ready to understand now? Because every wave of grief is an invitation. Every wave of grief is an invitation not to go backwards, but to finally meet yourself where you are with more honesty, more compassion, and more care. Beyond the Melody, welcome in. And let's be real with ourselves for a moment. When we don't deal with grief, it doesn't just disappear, right? It doesn't just pack up and say, all right, they ignored me long enough, I'm out. Again, I told y'all, grief don't give a damn. It will adapt. It will find another way to show up in your life. What's one way that your unprocessed emotions tend to show up? Like, everybody has a different way that our unprocessed emotions show up. So when you think about it, what's one way that your unprocessed emotions show up? Is it shutting down? Is it snapping quicker than usual? Overthinking everything? Pulling away from people? Because y'all, I withdraw in a heartbeat. I will isolate quickly. Maybe it's overworking so you don't pretend to feel. Or you don't have to feel. For some of us, it's people pleasing to keep the peace. Or maybe it's something else, right? You got to name it. Melody said, isolating and listening to your podcast, period. I'm here for you. But after you listen to it, let's talk about it, right? Because that's what it's supposed to be. That's why we get to heal out loud. So we listen to it, let it dredge up all the feelings that it needs to, and then let's talk about it. Sometimes just naming it helps. No judgment, just awareness. Hey, this is how I feel today. My sis said I go into hermit mode, right? Don't touch me. I'm in my shell, leave me alone, right? And you guys, I'm not exempt. I don't come here, my role as, my role as your life coach is not to sit here like I figured it all out, do as I say. Like, no, that is not why I'm here. Because I've also had seasons where I had to tell myself, I would lie to myself and be like, oh, I'm fine, I'm cool. But I was more irritable than usual, more drained than I could explain, more disconnected, even when I was completely surrounded by people. Yes, Monique, read the Bible. Right? Because, honey, I'm going to tell you, if this is going to sound bad, y'all, don't judge me. But I know for me, if all else fails, I got to sit down and be like, all right, God, look, listen. I'm misunderstanding something is not happening, or Lord, you taking me through there and I don't want to go through there. What is we doing? We out here on a bear hunt and I am scared. Like, help me. Right? And so, of course, there have been seasons that I had to sit with the truth. Like, okay, fine. Something is coming up and I keep trying to function around it instead of actually facing it. And that's the part that we don't always talk about out loud, right? We don't always talk about this bear hunt. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about with our bear hunt, listen. Sometime, I think we need to have a whole nother podcast about the bear hunt, but let me explain to y'all. I used to be a kindergarten teacher, so every now and again I go back into my kindergarten teacher bag on y'all, and the bear hunt comes up for that. And so, hold on. There you go, Brooks. Okay, so on this bear hunt, y'all, when we teach the kids, we say, I'm going on a bear hunt, and everybody echoes it back. So it's like, I'm going on a bear hunt, looking for the bears, and I'm not scared. And so as we go through this life experience, right? This bear hunt. First thing we do is we come up and it's mud. And we'd be like, look, it's mud. And so we say, well, we can't go around it. We can't go over it. We can't go under it. So we got to go through it. So then everybody rolls up their pants legs and we start stomping through the mud to get across. When we get across, we celebrate. Woo, we made it. Cool. So we hype again. Going on a bear hunt, looking for the bears, and I'm not scared. So you keep coming up on obstacles. See how this pertains to real life, y'all? But we keep going through obstacles. We keep going through things. And so there's a point where, you know, you've gone through the mud, you done made it through some quicksand, you done crossed the river and climbed the mountain and got through the trees and the forest and all of these things. And then at some point you get to the bear and we're like, you know, we done hyped ourselves up because we done made it through everything else. And so now we get to this bear. And for anybody who knows this song, you know, when you get to this bear, oh, we scared. So now that we done found the bear, everybody's scared and they're like, I don't want to do it, right? And so, of course, we find the bear. But then we haul ass the other way because ain't nobody got time to be fighting no bear. Now we second guessing ourselves like, whose idea was it to go on this bear hunt anyway? Who hyped us up and drug us into this? But so then, of course, we have to run back through everything that we've already overcome. And I think that, you know, when I look at grieving, it's a lot like that because we show up every day. We wake up every day on this bear hunt. This life experience. We wake up every day trying to overcome some sort of obstacle. And that's what we do, right? Because to date, however old you are that many years, you know, a survivor of everything that was meant to destroy you. So if you think about it, we've all been on a bear hunt. We are all actively on a bear hunt, right? And maybe you don't think you're looking for a bear, but that's what this whole life experience is about. And so, you know, we can have those seasons of telling ourselves that it's fine, that whole I'm not scared. But some of us need to honestly understand, you know what, I am scared. Right? Shonda, like, I am scared because I'm cool. Like, I'm ready to go on this bear hunt, but I don't actually know what I'm going to do when I get to the bear. That's what healing is for me. I'm actively healing, but being healed kind of scares me because I think that being healed, you know, ED, past tense, means I'm not here anymore. And so it is a scary thing to wake up every day and choose healing, to choose to go through whatever happens in life. It's a scary thing to unpack what you're grieving. So yeah. We're out here in life on this daggone bear hunt, y'all, looking for the bears. But I think that it is okay for us to say, okay, I'm a little scared, right? That doesn't mean that I'm not going to do it. It just simply means that, hey, I'm going to pause because I'm a little bit nervous about what's going to happen, right? And so sometimes we just have to say, hey, something's coming up. And if I keep trying to go around it instead of actually going through it, I'm never going to feel what I need to feel. And so it's going to keep coming up. And so if you're on your bear hunt and you keep getting to the quicksand because you keep going around it or you keep trying to go under it or over it and you keep landing right smack back in the middle of it, it's because you're trying to function around it and over it and under it instead of just facing it and going through it. Some people are scared of therapy. Some people are scared of coaching or scared of acknowledging that something hurt them or is hurting them. But then it just keeps showing up every day, every week, every month, every year, like clockwork. You got to get through it. And that's the part that we don't talk about because over the years, we've gotten really good at functioning, at showing up, at handling business and just keeping things moving. But functioning is not the same as healing. You can be productive and still be hurting. You can be smiling and still carrying a weight. You can be doing all that needs to be done and still be emotionally overwhelmed underneath all of it. Unprocessed grief looks like being constantly tired, even when you've rested. Losing interest in things that you used to enjoy. Welcome in, Darlene. Feeling disconnected from yourself. Struggling to trust people. Holding everything in until it explodes or kind of comes out all at once. Staying busy so you don't have to sit still. And let's not miss this one. Sometimes it looks like I'm good. Right? When we say I'm good too quickly, when it's said automatically or said before somebody can ask you anything deeper, you just shut them down. I'm good. Carry on. Right? And sometimes, if we're being honest, sometimes we say I'm good because we don't have enough. We don't even have the language for what we're actually feeling. And again, I had to learn that in real time. Just because I learned how to carry it doesn't mean that I healed it. Because there's a difference between I can handle it and I have processed it. So when we don't deal with our grief, it shows up in how we love and how we react and how we protect ourselves and how we avoid things that feel too close to what hurt us. Not because we're broken, but because something in us is still trying to be acknowledged. Right? Yeah. And being one person and carrying so many titles. Absolutely. So instead of asking what's wrong with me, try asking, what have I been carrying that I haven't been giving myself the space to process? What have I been carrying that I have not been giving myself the space to process? Your reactions are not random. Your patterns are not random. They're connected to something. What have you been carrying that you have not given yourself space to process? Because see, once you start connecting those dots, that's when things begin to shift. Not overnight, but intentionally. And that's where real healing starts, right? Not by pretending it's not there, but finally saying, okay, I see you. I get it. And so what do we do with all of this, right? We've named it. We sat with it. We've been honest about what grief can look like in real life. But now the question is, what do we actually do with it? Because awareness without action will just leave you stuck. And listen, I'm not about to give you a list that feels overwhelming. This isn't about fixing everything overnight. This is simply about, raising the awareness, right? It's not becoming the new you by next week. I don't have that power, y'all. I don't know that code. And honestly, I'm not even trying to figure it out. I just want to feel better today than I did yesterday. And I hope that tomorrow I feel better than I do today. So let's check in. What's one small thing that helps you process your emotions or helps you feel safe enough to start? Because we're healing out loud. So we're going to share with our friends something, right? One thing or a small thing, right? It doesn't have to be something big. What's one small thing that helps you process your emotions or helps you feel safe enough to start? Somebody said music. What else y'all got? Remember, there's no right or wrong. My girl said a self-care trip, period. What's one small thing that helps you to process your emotions or helps you to feel safe enough to start? And listen, guys, it could be journaling, sitting in silence, music, taking a trip, prayer, talking to somebody that you trust, poetry. I like that. Going for a walk, crying it out, right? Your soul tribe or your healing tribe. Absolutely. Community matters, right? For some, it's just saying, I don't have it today. Whatever it is, I just encourage you to name it. The sauna, yes, get them toxins out, girl. Right? For some, the gym, working out, painting, dancing with your cat. Come on now. Whatever it is for you, name it. Because sometimes we already have the tools. We just don't use them consistently. Monique said music and cleaning. Absolutely. And if somebody answers it, it's like somebody else be like, oh, I do like that. I do that too. Because again, a lot of times we have the tools. We just don't use them consistently. You know, healing doesn't look the same for everybody. See, when I realized that I was grieving that shift in my role as a mom, I didn't try to fix it. I didn't rush myself to be okay. I actually slowed down, right? I slowed down and I chose to name it. I am grieving this version of me, right? And once I said it out loud, something softened. Not because the feeling disappeared, but because I stopped fighting it. So if you're wondering what your next step is, right? Start here. Just name it. Be honest about what you're grieving. Name it. Not what you think it should be, or, you know, not what you think you should be over, but what is actually there. Name it. And after you name it, allow it. Give yourself permission to feel and to feel it without rushing it. You don't need a timeline for your emotions. You name it and then you allow it. Then I need you to create space for it. That, you know, might look like journaling, dancing it out, sitting in quiet, letting yourself cry, or just simply acknowledging this is heavy today. Make room for it. And then get support. And I hope that we normalize this, because you don't have to process everything alone. So whether support for you looks like therapy or coaching or community, it's important to understand that healing happens faster when you're not isolated. And I want to say this gently but real. Avoiding it does not make it go away. It just delays the moment you have to face it. And the longer we delay it, the heavier it can feel when it finally surfaces. But you know, here's the encouraging part. You don't have to tackle it all today. Maybe today is the day that you name it. That's it. Maybe tomorrow you'll allow it. Then you'll create space for it. You'll make room for it. Then hopefully you get the support that you need, right? From your community, from your family, from your friends, right? Get the support that you need. But remember, you don't have to do it all today. It just takes one honest moment, one conversation, one journal entry, one breath where you stop pretending. Because again, healing doesn't happen and it doesn't start, you know, when you have everything figured out. It starts the moment you decide, I'm not going to ignore this anymore. That's powerful. That's the shift right there. That's you choosing you. So in case nobody told you, we are allowed to heal. Because After everything that we just talked about, all the layers, the stages, and all the stuff that we don't name, I don't want you leaving this conversation feeling heavy without direction. I want you leaving with permission to heal, not just to survive it, not just to push through it, not just to be the strong one who keeps it all together, but to actually heal. And I'm saying this as someone who has had to learn this in a real way, not the pretty way, not the Instagram worthy way, but to sit with yourself when it's quiet and process it kind of way. There have been moments in my own journey where I have realized I wasn't healing, that I was performing strength, that I was showing up, I was handling things, being who everybody else needed me to be. But when shit got quiet, it was just me. And nobody showed up for me. And that's when the truth would show up. That's when I had to face what I hadn't processed. Even recently with this shift as my role as a mom, there were moments I didn't even recognize myself. Feeling emotionally over little things. Feeling a kind of quiet sadness I couldn't explain right away. That I tried to brush past it. I could have said, girl, you doing too much. Be quiet. Be grateful. He growing up. But instead, I just sat with it. And I told myself the truth. I'm proud and I'm grieving. Because both can exist at the same time. And when I allowed that, I stopped fighting myself. I stopped trying to rush past the feeling that needed space. And that's what I want for you too. Because healing doesn't mean that you forget. It doesn't mean that it never hurts again. It doesn't mean that you always have this perfect response. It means that you start showing up for yourself differently, with more awareness, more compassion, more honesty. What's one thing that you're ready to start being honest about with yourself? What is one thing that you're ready to start being honest about with yourself? Not for anybody else, not for appearances, just for you. And you don't have to put it in the chat because it's just for you. Because the truth is, you don't have to have it all figured out to be healing. You just need to stop pretending it's not there. Now listen, if this conversation opens something up for you, don't close it back up the moment the episode ends. Stay with it. Journal it out. Sit with what came up. Talk about it in the community if you desire, right? Reach out to your community or someone you trust. For those of you who are like, I don't have a community. Listen, if you're looking for a space where you don't have to do this alone, come join us in the Room to Breathe, right? Become part of the self-care club. That's our community where we're not just talking about healing. We are practicing it in real time with real people in real life. You can tap in to the community by visiting my website at theselfcareclub.org. And, just honestly taking that next step in a space that actually supports you with people who see you and value you and understand you, because you deserve more than just getting through it. We're all on a bear hunt, looking for the bears. And I'll admit that most of us are scared. So it's okay. You deserve to process it, to understand it, to release what's been weighing on you, and to come out lighter on the other side. So as we close, I just want you to take a deep breath with me. In through your nose. Exhale from your mouth. And can I just say that I am proud of you? You made it through this conversation. And that alone is a step. It is a step in the right direction. I am right here with you. I am not above this. I am not Past this, I am in it. I am into the thick of it, right with you. And we're going to keep doing this work together. As always, I want you guys to know that I am here to encourage you to keep breathing through the highs, the lows, and every single moment in between. I want you to keep choosing peace, even if it feels out of reach. And know that here at the Self-Care Club, you will always be seen, always valued, and always supported. So don't you be afraid to take up space, speak your truth, and make a little room for you to breathe. I love each and every one of you to life, and I am praying that your day is not just amazing, but aligned, intentional, and yes, on purpose, filled with nothing but purpose. This has been another Room to Breathe podcast, and I cannot wait to connect with you all again soon. Thank you.